And they decided to go bigger and off the beach, which was on 23rd and Collins. That was Groove Jet. At that time, there were the mainstream clubs doing what we did, and then there was kind of Groove Jet, which was doing this very cool kind of music-based scene, but they were seen in the market as underground. They weren't really a mainstream club, and we went there, and that was the place I liked to go party, but it wasn't, it wasn't in any way mainstream.
When we took over Boomerang and made it Groove Jet, there was an old Cuban lady that owned it. Her name was Miriam, and she was amazing. She had owned the building from the time when the wise guys used to throw stuff there, have a club there, and tell me great old stories. And the legend was at the back of Boomerang that someone got buried in the back, someone got whacked and buried in the back of the building. And I kind of tended to believe it because when we started building, there was all kind of wacky stuff happening. It was just by the tree. I think he was buried underneath the tree. I don't know.
When I worked with Jimmy Franzo and Greg Breyer, one of the interesting things was that they seemed like they were real rule breakers and didn't give a shit about the conventional way of doing anything. So that really lent itself to me to nightclubs, because the whole thing about a nightclub to me is having a place where you can be expressive and people can go and have a creative experience, and those guys were the only people I really saw that recognized that was the case. The people I worked with in New York, that was something that kind of developed out of the area thing where all these collaborative artists would get together and create an environment, and I took that with me down here to Miami, and the only place I could find an outlet for really was through those guys. Those two guys were the only ones that were, got it.
I opened Groove Jet with everybody there. I mean, that was with Greg and Nicole again, because we stayed close friends. And that was another really amazing time on South Beach. I mean, I think it was one of the last real clubs, that happened here. I mean, there was just amazing the outside and, the whole garden that Roseman did. We were talking about, I mean, just amazing with the mirrors and the candles and the whole atmosphere. And then the front room had house music going on and all the great bartenders that worked up there.
We had a bartender, and she was beautiful. Everybody would come to the back bar, and they just guys would fall all over. And but they had no idea it was a guy. I mean, literally at all. And I can't remember her name for the life of me. But yeah, I mean, she was hot. I mean, no one knew in a million years. I know more guys that would walk out the door, she'd take them home, but without any clue whatsoever. And that was kind of her thing.
There was just a good time. And the middle bar was just where the main hub where everything happened. Just amazing. So Groove Jet was historical, I mean, in South Beach. And we all planted a seed then, it was a seed that everybody planted that grew what South Beach is now.
I closed, actually, Groove Jet Memorial Day 1999, and I closed it, and truthfully, I was making money. I was happy. My rent was $3,000 a month. The place was 12,000 square feet. But I really, really didn't want to be there. I got a call from the lieutenant from the fire department that said, your building is on fire. We went down, and we just cut the holes into the air conditioning units back and forth, and someone had thrown 5 Molotov cocktails to burn my place to the ground. Obviously a competitive club guy, whoever it may be. I'm not sure if the statute of limitations are up for that person, so I'm not going to rat him out, and I never would anyway. So I believe I know. But in any case, the next night I had a security guy, and his name was 6'6", because he was 6 feet wide, 6 feet tall. He was huge. And so I put him in that night, and I said, listen, you can't fall asleep because, this is what happened the night before. They put the fire out. And sure enough, the genius fell asleep that night, the same night, and the same crew that was trying to burn my place down sent in another crew, and they sent in the pros this time. So he'd fallen asleep, and they were running gas lines literally from the DJ booth down their gas tanks, and it was going to burn to the ground without a doubt. These guys were pros, and luckily enough, thank God, he woke up and he smelled the gas, and he happened to have a big baseball bat, and surprised them as they were coming. And there was a big wall in the backyard, and so they were all able to escape. So they jumped over the wall and got away. So So again, there's that darkness there that was happening that you started to see come in, seeping into the beach.
So what happened to South Beach as it grew, what happened was that a lot of the people in the small bars that worked out really well started to fade away and disappear, with all the big clubs coming in, all the corporate people coming in, pushing all these new venues. And it's separated from the locals meeting at these little spots between 6th and 7th on Washington, to these little bars here and there, to now like the big clubs, the big venues where everyone wanted, cover at the door and wanted you to spend this much to get in. Just changed the whole formula of how things in South Beach really started.
Once those clubs that were operated by those people started to open, you started to see a change in South Beach. And I truthfully call it the dark days. It really was a time where you started to see that it all became about just celebrity. It all just became about, money and flash and not anything to do of what South Beach was about, which was locals hanging out and having a great time.